Chapter 9. Paul angrily jerked open the car door, his blue eyes bulging, his face bright red. "My wallet," he repeated. "Come on, man. Where is it?" "Now, hold on," James told him, turning out of the seat and lowering both feet to the ground. "Hold on, Paul." "Where is it?" Paul demanded, his face twisted in anger. "We're talking $1,000 here, man. This isn't one of your little candy store shopliftings." "Hey!" James angrily leapt from the car. "That was a long time ago. Why are you bringing that up?" "No discussions," Paul snapped. He reached out a hand. Then he spoke slowly, menacingly, lowering his voice. "Just give me the wallet." James tried to back away from the outstretched hand, but Paul had him pinned against the car. "I don't have your wallet, man." A wave of anger swept over James. He could feel every muscle in his body tighten. Christina and Terry hadn't moved. They sat frozen in the car, staring out the windows, their expressions alarmed, frightened. Paul stuck his upturned palm under James's nose. "The wallet, man. Just hand me the wallet." The anger swarmed through James's body, pulsed at his temples. He cried out and shoved Paul's hand away. "Get your hand out of my face." Paul's eyes narrowed. He didn't back up. "It was right on the shelf, James, right by the door. You're not leaving till I get my wallet." "You're always losing things, Paul," James said, stiffening his body, balling his hands into fists as if preparing for a fight. "You're always losing everything. You probably took it upstairs when you went to bed last night." "The wallet," Paul insisted, ignoring James's words. Again, he stuck his open hand in James's face. "Just give me the wallet." James roughly shoved the hand away. "I'm not a thief." "The wallet. I want the wallet." Christina's voice broke through their shouts. "Come on, James. We have to get going." "You're not going anywhere," Paul insisted. Paul grabbed James's shoulder. The anger overtook James. Everything turned red. He swung without warning. His fist caught Paul completely by surprise. Paul uttered a loud groan, his eyes ballooning as James's fist connected with his chin. Paul's eyes fluttered, then rolled up in his head. Both arms flew up into the air as if he were going to take off. Then he collapsed in a heap beside the driveway. "Paul, what's going on?" James heard Paula calling from the house. "Let's get moving," James said to Christina and Terry. He dived into the driver's seat and threw the car into reverse before closing the door. He floored the gas pedal, and the car lurched backwards down the drive. As he started to pull away, James saw Paula running across the lawn toward her fallen husband, her arms flailing out at her sides, her mouth open wide in distress. He could hear her screaming Paul's name over and over, and then her voice was drowned out by the car engine as James roared away. He didn't even slow down until they were out of the development, heading along the service road back toward the highway. No one spoke. James was breathing so hard, he felt as if his chest were about to explode. Terry was the one to break the heavy silence. "This isn't good," she muttered, sitting slumped in the back seat, her head down, away from the window as if she were hiding. "This isn't good, Christina." "Shut up, Terry," Christina snapped. "Just shut up." "I won't," Terry insisted shrilly. "This isn't good, I'm telling you." "Shut up, Terry, I mean it," Christina shouted. "Just shut up for once." Terry uttered an angry, exasperated cry, but didn't say any more. They drove past small white houses. Cypress trees leaned over the road. An orange sun was climbing the sky to their right. It was already hot and sticky. "You really hit him?" Christina said quietly, playing with a strand of blonde hair. "Lucky punch," James replied, keeping his eyes on the road. "Have you seen any signs for Route 75? "Up there," Christina pointed. "We're going the right way. Look at those palm trees. They're so tall." James slowed for a stop sign. "You been in a lot of fights?" Christina asked. He shrugged. "A few." He was still waiting for his heart to stop thudding, for the blood to stop pulsing at his temples, for his hands to stop shaking. Terry shifted noisily in the back seat. He heard her mutter something under her breath, but he couldn't make out the words. "I'm not a thief," he said, his voice breaking. "How could he call me a thief?" "He was just upset," Christina replied. She placed her hand on his shoulder, as if to calm him. "I'm not a thief," James insisted. "He had no right to do that." He gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to force his hands to stop trembling. "Did he really think I stole from my own cousin?" Christina lowered her hand to his knee. "It is strange about the wallet," she said softly. He glanced at her. "Huh? What do you mean?" She thought for a moment before replying, "Well, the last time I noticed, the wallet was right by the front door, on that shelf with the keys and stuff." "So?" James asked offensively. "So nothing," she said curtly. "I just said it was strange, that's all." He saw that she was staring at him, an accusing look on her face. She kept her eyes locked on him, as if waiting for him to confess. Angrily, he stared straight ahead. He had suddenly realized he was gritting his teeth so hard his jaw hurt. He lowered his foot on a gas pedal as the highway entrance came into view on the right, and the car shot forward. "Stop staring at me," he snapped. "Okay, fine." She turned away from him and stared out the passenger window. "I didn't say anything. You don't have to bite my head off." "Hey, are we having fun yet?" Terry asked sarcastically from the back seat. "Shut up, Terry," Christina snarled. "I'm warning you." James maneuvered the car onto the highway and moved into the center lane. The speedometer told him he was doing 75. Christina continued to stare out the side window. James snapped on the radio. It came on too loud. Music roared from the speakers, startling all three of them. He turned down the volume and began pushing buttons, moving quickly from station to station. "Watch the road," Terry warned shrilly. "You'll get us all killed." He ignored her and continued pushing buttons. He stopped at a Guns N' Roses song he recognized. "Ugh, Axl Rose," Terry muttered disgustedly. The song ended and was followed by a long Metallica cut. "I like this station," James said to no one in particular. "I knew you'd be a metal moron," Terry said nastily. "Guess you're still into New Kids on the Block, right?" he shot back sarcastically. She didn't reply. They drove on for a while, the whining guitars of the heavy metal music drowning out all other sounds. No one talked. A little before noon, the news came on. James reached to change the station, but Christina pushed his hand away. A smooth-voiced woman gave the weather forecast, then read the news. Roger Eckridge, the elderly Fort Lauderdale man beaten and robbed allegedly by a hitchhiker, died of his injuries this morning at Fort Lauderdale General. Police are intensifying their efforts. James switched off the radio. "Why can't they just play music?" he grumbled. "If I wanted news, I'd buy a paper." To his surprise, Christina was glaring at him, her eyes wide, her expression thoughtful. She tugged nervously at her hair, twisting and untwisting one of her corkscrew curls around one finger. "Hey, let's lighten up, okay?" James pleaded. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Pull over," Terry's voice, loud and frightened, rang out from the back seat. "Huh?" James cried. "Pull over," Terry insisted sternly. "Right now. Christina and I have got to talk." Chapter 10. "Hey, what's the problem?" James asked, edging into the right lane. "It's between Christina and me," Terry replied coldly. James looked questioningly at Christina, who was staring back at him, a troubled expression on her face. "Just pull over," she said. James obediently slowed the car and rolled onto the grassy shoulder. As soon as the car stopped, both girls pushed open their doors and stepped out. A blast of hot, wet air entered the car before they slammed the doors. Resting his head against the leather headrest, James watched them walk away from the car along the shoulder. Cars whirred by. A two-sectioned oil truck rumbled past. Several yards from the car, the girls stopped and confronted each other. James squinted into the sunlight, studying them as they argued. Terry seemed very frightened, very upset. Christina seemed angry. Terry's face grew red as she shouted, gesturing with her hands and pacing back and forth along the side of the highway in front of Christina. Christina had her hands on her hips and kept shaking her head. Terry was doing almost all the talking. Girls, thought James. You shouldn't fight over me. Really, there's enough of me to go around. He snickered to himself, then cut it short when he realized that Terry was crying. What is she so upset about, he wondered, leaning forward, resting his arms on top of the steering wheel as he stared at them through the windshield. Why does Terry seem so scared? Christina started to comfort Terry, but Terry pulled away from her, and the argument started again. Both girls kept glancing back at James. They're definitely talking about me, he decided. I guess Terry is real scared of me for some reason, and Christina is telling her to lighten up and give me a break. He was tempted to get out of the car, go over, and break up the dispute. He reached for the door handle, then decided to wait a bit more. He suddenly realized that his hand hurt. Holding it up in front of him, he saw that the knuckles along the back had been cut and were caked with dry blood. I guess I did hit Paul pretty hard, he decided, rubbing the hand gently. I hit him hard enough to cut my hand open. What a shame, he thought. What a shame. The visit had ended so badly, like a lot of other visits. He had hoped to get away cleanly this time, but no such luck. What a shame. What a shame, he repeated to himself. But at least I got a little spending money out of it. He rubbed his eyes. They felt dry and irritated, probably just from staring into the glare of the sun. When he opened them, the two girls were still arguing. Maybe I should just get out and walk away, he thought. I'm causing all this trouble. All this discussion. Who needs it? Please don't hurt me, James. Please? Yeah, he and Melissa had had enough discussions, enough arguments to last a lifetime, enough arguments to send him on the run. Please don't hurt me? Every time he closed his eyes, he heard Melissa's pitiful plea, saw her dark eyes fill with fear. Enough arguing, he thought, watching Christina and Terry through the Honda windshield. I'll just wave goodbye and good riddance to them and hitch a ride by myself, to anywhere. But then he had a better idea. Why should I have to hitch? He had a car. The keys were in the ignition. The engine was running. He was behind the wheel. All he had to do was drive away. The thought made him laugh out loud. What a hoot. He had to do it, just to see the looks on their faces as he bombed away. Awesome, he thought, truly awesome. He peered out the windshield at them. Christina was doing the talking now, hands still on her hips, her blonde hair catching the light of the midday sun. Terry had her head lowered, her hands balled into tight fists at her sides, and she was kicking at the tall grass. Chuckling to himself, James reached for the gear shift and pulled it into drive. He checked his rearview mirror, then stepped on the gas. He turned to see their mouths drop open in horror as he drove away. Chapter 11. James, Christina screamed. What is he doing? Terry cried. Is he really driving away? The car rolled past them and kept going, keeping along the shoulder. Hey, James? Both girls started to run after it, shouting and waving their arms. He can't do this, Terry yelled. He can't. The car stopped about 100 yards away, pulling back onto the grass. The girls kept running, frantically calling to James. Gasping for breath, they pulled open the car doors and leaned into the car. James was laughing uproariously, tossing back his head, slapping the steering wheel with both hands and enjoying his little joke. You're not funny, Christina said, still breathing hard. You should have seen the looks on your faces, James exclaimed, through his convulsions of laughter. Why'd you do it? Terry demanded angrily. She held her side, trying to rub away a cramp from running so hard. Just wanted to get your attention, James told her. You got it, Christina said breathlessly. Don't do that again, okay? Did I scare you? James asked, very pleased with himself. Christina didn't reply. She climbed into the front passenger seat. We've got to get going, she said nervously, glancing at the passing cars on the highway. Where are we, anyway? We just passed Gainesville, remember? James said. We're still in Florida? Yeah, believe it or not, James replied. We might make it to Georgia if you two... I want to drive, Terry interrupted. She hurried around to the other side of the car and pulled open James's door. He grinned up at her. What's the matter? You don't trust me anymore? I never trusted you, Terry thought. I never trusted you, and I never wanted to pick you up. That was one of Christina's wonderful ideas, she thought bitterly. Just one of Christina's many wonderful ideas. I wish we'd never stopped for you. I wish we'd never seen you. I wish... Okay, give me a little room so I can get out. James broke into her unhappy thoughts. Maybe I'm being unfair to him, Terry thought, stepping back and watching James climb out from behind the wheel. Christina says I'm being unfair, but why do we need him? Terry had been so happy that they were dropping James off in Tampa, but now here he was, hanging on all the way to Cleveland. And then what? Would they be able to get rid of him then? Or would he follow them home, move into one of their houses, never go away? I've got to stop these crazy thoughts, Terry warned herself. But how can I? Everything is so crazy. If only James weren't so scary, she decided. If only he was someone we could trust. But everything about him is so frightening. His size, his attitude, his terrible temper. And what with the story on the radio about the old man? Terry, are you getting in or what? Christina called impatiently. Sorry, Terry said softly, her mind still spinning. She turned her eyes to James, who was about to climb into the back seat, and felt a cold chill as she saw him staring back at her with the strangest smile on his face. Then, instead of climbing in, Terry saw him tap on Christina's window. Why don't you get in back with me? He called. Huh? What did you say? Christina rolled down her window. Come in back with me. We'll pretend we're in a big limo and Terry is our driver. Thanks a bunch, Terry said dryly, rolling her eyes. Come on, James urged Christina. He pulled open her door and tugged her arm, flashing her an inviting smile. I don't believe this, Terry thought unhappily. They're going to make out while I drive the car. Christina is too much, Terry thought, feeling angry and jealous at the same time. How can she do this? Easy, Terry decided. She climbed behind the wheel with a loud sigh and pulled the car door closed. Christina piled into the back seat, and James immediately pulled her onto his lap. She squealed, Let go? James laughed and raised his arms, freeing her to scoot onto the seat. We're never getting out of here, Terry moaned. Just drive, Christina instructed, giggling because James was tickling her. I don't believe you too, Terry complained, pulling onto the highway. You're welcome to join us, James told her, grinning. Don't be disgusting, Terry quickly replied. Yeah, don't be disgusting, Christina teased. Terry clicked on the radio, turning up the volume so she wouldn't have to listen to the other two. She kept the car in the center lane, cruising at a steady 60. As she drove, she tried to clear her mind, letting the music roll over her thoughts, letting the music push out everything she didn't want to think about, concentrating on it, flowing with it as if the music were driving the car, carrying her forward, carrying her away from Florida, away from Christina, away from James, the hitchhiker, the hitchhiker, the hitchhiker. The word played over and over in her mind, repeating itself until it seemed to have no meaning. Every once in a while, she would raise her eyes to the rearview mirror and see Christina and James wrapped up in each other, kissing passionately. Then she would quickly turn her eyes back to the highway and let the music carry her away. Hope you two are nice and cozy back there, Terry called back to them sarcastically. Christina mumbled a reply. Terry couldn't hear it over the music. This isn't the first time Christina has done this, she thought. It isn't the first time Christina has had a guy and I haven't. But why now? And why with some scary guy we don't know a thing about? A hitchhiker, hitchhiker, hitchhiker. It's just too dangerous, Terry thought. If only I could convince her. She thought of the story on the radio, the old man who died. Hitchhiker, hitchhiker, hitchhiker. She had tried reasoning with Christina. When that hadn't worked, she had tried tears. What did she have to do? What could she do? There they were, going at it hot and heavy in the back seat, while she drove them like some kind of chauffeur. Don't let yourself get mad, Terry. Just get into the music, into the music. Let the music carry you away, as it has so many times before when you were stressed out. The melody of an old Rolling Stones record floated into Terry's head, a song her parents liked to play again and again. Hitchhike, hitchhike, baby, hitchhike. They stopped for chili dogs at a stand just over the Georgia border. Then Terry drove the rest of the afternoon with only a 5-minute rest stop to stretch their legs. As evening arrived, the sun slowly lowered itself behind an endless row of pine trees on their left. The sky was pink, the color of bubblegum, lighter than the pink clay along the shoulder of the highway. The road had narrowed to 2 lanes here. There were few cars on the highway, mostly large trucks roaring along at about 80. Hey, anybody getting hungry? Christina called from the back seat. Any place to stop around here? James asked beside her. He'd been napping, and his voice was hoarse from sleep. We have to get a map, you know, Christina said. She shook James, trying to rouse him. Wake up, you bum. Are we going to stop? James asked sleepily. I'm starving. Where are we anyway? Hey, Terry, what's the matter? Christina asked, her voice suddenly filling with concern. You're not saying anything? Guys, Terry said reluctantly, her eyes raised to the rearview mirror. I have some bad news. I think we're being followed. Chapter 12. Huh? Christina and James both uttered their surprise. Terry accelerated to pass a small pickup truck loaded with a mound of white sand. How do you know? Christina asked, her voice tight with fear. She twisted around to gaze out the back window. That blue car has been behind us since Gainesville, Terry said, pressing down further on the gas pedal. The car hesitated, then roared forward. The speedometer read 85. I don't see any blue car, James said. He, too, had turned to peer out the back. Just watch, Terry said, her voice calm, despite the frightened fluttering in her chest. A few seconds later, a blue Taurus passed the pickup truck and moved back into the lane, several car lengths behind them. That's the blue car? Christina asked. That's it, Terry said, watching it in the rearview mirror. The sun sank lower behind the trees. Lengthening shadows cast the highway in black and gray. Well, what makes you think it's following us? Christina asked shrilly. Yeah, James added. Maybe it's just heading north like we are. I don't think so, Terry said. I've been watching it for a long time. It always stays in the same lane I'm in. It keeps pretty far back, but not that far back. Sometimes I slowed down to let it pass me, but it slowed down too. It wouldn't pass. Christina and James stared back at the blue Taurus. I can't see the driver very well, Christina said. It's getting too dark. It's a man, that's all I know, Terry reported. He hasn't gotten close enough for me to see his face. She eased her foot on the brake and slowed the car to 50. Several car lengths behind them, the blue car slowed too, keeping the same distance between them. See what I mean? Terry asked, suddenly sounding very frightened. Hey, you two, turn around. What if he knows we know he's following us? But why would anyone follow us? Christina asked, settling back into her seat, then slumping low. I still don't believe, James started. Oh, I know, Christina interrupted. It's Paul. Huh? James cried. I'll bet it's your cousin Paul. He's coming after us for his money. Hey, James shouted angrily. What makes you think I've got it? I told you. There's an exit, Terry interrupted. I'm taking it. Hold on. She spun the wheel. The tires squealed as the car swerved onto the exit ramp. Terry accelerated, struggling to follow the sharp curve of the exit road, sliding on a narrow gravel shoulder, the tires spinning noisily. Regaining the road, she floored the gas pedal. The car shot forward onto a narrow, unpaved road. Look out! The slow-moving tractor appeared from out of nowhere, crossing the road just up ahead of them. The driver was looking the other way. Christina screamed. Terry spun the wheel. The car slid off the road, bounced onto the grass, bumped over some rocks, the engine roaring. A tree trunk whirred past the window, leaves and branches brushing the car noisily. The tractor was behind them now. Terry spun the wheel back toward the road. The car bounced hard. Terry's head struck the roof. She spun the wheel again, her foot on the brake. And then they were back on the road with a jolt, the tires squealing, then catching hard, and the car spurting forward as if shot from a cannon. I don't believe it, Christina gasped. She was tugging at the sides of her hair with both hands. In the mirror, Terry could see James holding onto her. James looked pale and shaken even in the flickering, shadowy light. Did we lose the blue Taurus? He asked. Terry glanced through the rearview mirror. Yes, it's gone, she said with a relieved sigh, and then her expression darkened as she continued to watch the mirror. No, here he comes. He's still there. We've got to lose him, Christina cried. Turn here. Terry obediently spun the wheel sharply, and the car squealed onto another narrow country road. A few seconds later, they could hear another squeal of tires behind them as the Taurus made the turn. He's picking up speed, Terry reported. She swallowed hard. I think he's trying to catch us now. The Honda bumped over the country road. Christina and James held onto each other as Terry floored the gas pedal. The engine whined, and the car responded with a burst of speed. He's catching up, Terry cried, her voice revealing her fear. Who is he? Christina demanded. What does he want? The car dipped into a hole in the road. Terry hit the brake. Too late. All three passengers cried out as their heads hit the roof with a jolt. The road curved to the right. Terry steadied herself, her head throbbing, and struggled to follow the road, glancing at the blue Taurus in the mirror as it roared closer. Hey, the highway! She exclaimed. We must have made a circle, James said quietly. Terry edged the car onto the highway, then swerved into the center lane. We can't lose him on this road, Christina said. He'll just follow us forever. Look for a town, James urged. We'll be safer in a town. If only there were more cars on this road, Terry complained. We could lose him. None of them realized that the blue Taurus had caught up with them until it pulled alongside in the left lane, then swerved to bump them. Hey! The car bumped the driver's side again, tossing the Honda like a carnival bumper car ride. He's trying to push us off the road, James cried. He's trying to kill us, Christina exclaimed. Another hard bump, metal against metal at 60 miles an hour. What do I do? Terry thought, feeling the panic run through her body. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Got to think clearly. Got to think. But the fear swept over her, paralyzed her, made her mind go blank. The Taurus slammed into their side again, harder this time. He's crazy, Terry screamed. Trying to fight down the panic, she hit the brake. The Honda went into a slide, screeching into the right lane, and then onto the gravel shoulder. Terry, no! She heard Christina's shrill scream from the back seat, and then the crunch of metal and glass. Terry was thrown forward, then tossed back. She felt her seatbelt catch at her waist, hold her in as her head started to throb. The car had come to a stop, she realized. Am I alive? The question floated past her. She seemed to be swimming in the shadows. Everything was moving and not moving. The car was floating, bobbing around in dark waters. Or was it just in her mind? A hand touched her shoulder. Are you okay, Terry? Christina's voice. The shadows lifted. We hit a tree, James's voice, high-pitched, uncertain. The words seemed to clear her mind. We hit a tree. Terry blinked, once, twice. She moved her head around, testing her neck muscles. I'm okay, she stammered uncertainly. She peered out through the windshield. The car was tilted up at a low angle. The right headlight beamed through the darkness, illuminating a clump of evergreens. The left headlight appeared to be out. We're okay, Christina said, her voice strangely muffled. We're all okay? Look! Terry pointed to the road. The blue Taurus had stopped several yards up ahead. Now it was slowly backing up toward them. Can we move? He's coming. We've got to move, Christina urged, squeezing Terry's shoulder. I don't know, Terry replied, her voice a frightened whisper. She threw the car into reverse and stepped hard on the gas. Silence. She hadn't realized that the engine had cut off. A moment of panic. Then she fumbled for the key, turned it. The engine whined, but it didn't start. Try again, quick, Christina cried. The blue Taurus was backing up, just a few yards up ahead now. Terry tried the key again, pumping hard on the gas. The car made a grinding noise. I think you flooded it, James said. The blue Taurus came to a stop at the edge of the highway. The driver's door opened. The car light came on. They could see a man wearing dark clothes climbing out of the car. We're trapped, Terry said softly. He's got us. Chapter 13. Who is it? Christina asked in a whisper. I can't see his face? James grabbed the door handle and pushed open the back door. Come on, into the woods. He grabbed Christina's hand and tugged. Christina hesitated, her eyes locked on the dark figure climbing out of the car. We're trapped, Terry repeated, gripping the steering wheel with both hands, making no attempts to escape from the Honda. Come on, hurry, James frantically urged, stepping out onto the dirt. Terry reached for the door handle, but made no move to pull it. Terry, Christina called, do you think... She stopped as a set of yellow blinking lights came into view on the road. The light seemed to float low above the ground, blinking steadily like twinkling stars, growing larger and brighter as they approached. Frozen in place, Terry turned her attention to the blinking lights as they moved along the highway, then appeared to float toward her. Hey, it's a tow truck, James called excitedly from just outside the car. Hey! He waved both arms above his head, signaling the approaching truck. The blinking lights glowed brighter. Terry squinted and the truck came into focus beneath them. Its tires crunched over the gravel highway's shoulder and rolled onto the dirt. You all right in there? A voice called from the cab. A head poked out of the tow truck. The man had a cigar in his mouth. He was wearing a red baseball cap. You kids okay? Yeah, we're not hurt. James walked around the back of the car, his hands jammed into his jeans pockets, and approached the tow truck. Smashed up your headlight. The door swung open and the truck driver hopped down. Terry saw that he was tall and lean, with scraggly dark hair down to his shoulders. He tossed the cigar to the ground. He walked over to the driver's door and peered in at Terry. How'd it happen? We were being chased, Terry blurted out. That car was chasing us, and... She started to point to the man in the blue Taurus, but the man and the car were gone. The truck driver turned to follow the direction of her finger. Huh? He must have driven away, James explained. I don't believe it, Christina muttered from the back seat. Terry exhaled loudly. She felt shaken but relieved. The tow truck driver narrowed his eyes suspiciously. You kids on something. You've been drinking. No, James replied sharply, angered by the man's suspicion. We just had an accident, that's all. Doesn't look too bad, the man said, removing his cap, scratching his greasy hair, then replacing the cap. Will it start? I don't think so, Terry replied. Let me give it a try, okay? He pulled open the door and helped Terry out. She stood shakily, but quickly caught her balance. She turned her eyes to the highway, to the spot where the blue Taurus had parked. Nothing there now. Gone. Whoever it was must have driven off as soon as he saw the blinking lights of the tow truck. Whoever it was. Terry sucked in a deep breath of the cool air, starting to feel a little better. Christina climbed out and joined the other two. They stood in a line, watching the tow truck operator lower himself into the front seat, folding his long legs into the car. He turned the key in the ignition and the car started right up. Then he slowly backed up, moving the car off the tree trunk. As the car inched backwards, Terry could see that the damage wasn't too bad. The left headlight was shattered, the bumper was bent in, but not enough to interfere with the tire. They put good bumpers on these cars. You don't even need a tow. The man climbed out of the car. You kids were lucky. Yeah, lucky, Christina muttered, casting a dark glance at Terry. Better get the headlight replaced. There's a garage in town that might still be open. Town? Where's town? Terry asked eagerly. The driver pointed. Next right. He raised his hands to the brim of his cap as if to tip it. Drive carefully. He started back to his truck, taking long strides. Thanks, James called after him. And I'd watch out for those car chases with invisible cars, the man said, and he disappeared into his truck. The motel room was sparse but clean. James tossed his canvas bag on the armchair in the corner and flopped onto his back on the bed. Sleepy's. That was the name of the long, two-story motel at the far end of the small town. The service garage had been closed. James and the girls were too tired and shaken to keep driving, and Terry was afraid they'd be stopped by the police for having only one headlight. So they had stopped at Sleepy's for the night, parking the car in the back of the motel where it would be hidden from the street, hidden from the man in the blue Taurus, in case he was still looking for them. James stared up at the shadows playing across the low ceiling. A brass sprinkler was positioned right over the bed. The room smelled of disinfectant. The air conditioner under the window rattled. Closing his eyes, he heard voices in the next room. Christina's voice, Terry's voice, shrill and angry. They were having another loud argument. What's it about this time, he wondered, keeping his eyes shut, listening hard. The wall muffled their words. Didn't we have enough excitement for one day? What could they possibly be fighting about? He thought about Christina. She's so hot, he told himself. She's a real babe. We should get back to Key West and really party. Thinking about Key West pulled Melissa into his mind. He saw her again, her face red and puffy, her coppery hair tangled and damp, tear tracks staining her pale cheeks. And for the thousandth time, he saw her tiny clenched fists, and heard her desperate plea for him not to hurt her. With a pained sigh, he rolled onto his side and buried his face in the bedspread. The woolen bedspread felt scratchy against his skin. He heard water running in the room above his. A toilet flushed. He raised his arm over his head, covering his exposed ear, trying to shut out Christina's and Terry's voices from next door. They were still going at it. He could hear Terry shouting, even with his ears covered. "What is your problem?" he asked aloud. He thought about the car. They could probably drive all the way to Cleveland without getting it fixed. Of course, driving at night would be risky. The shouting from next door stopped suddenly. James uncovered his ear and raised his head, listening intently. Yes, they had finally stopped. Had Terry won, he wondered. Had she persuaded Christina to dump him, to leave him here and go on their way without him? Is that what they were arguing about? He felt a hot stab of anger start in his stomach. Terry had no reason to get on his case, just because she was jealous. The anger started to spread. You better not mess with me, Terry, he thought. You've picked the wrong guy to mess with. James's thoughts were interrupted by a loud knock on the door. Startled, he sat up with a jerk. The loud knock was repeated, someone banging hard on the wooden door. James quickly climbed to his feet and made his way across the room. He had his hand on the knob when a husky voice called in, "Come out, with your hands up."